Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. All week I have been studying in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam the 10 chapters dealing with the pastime of Lord Nrsimhadev. He appeared, the appearance day was Tuesday, but I'm still in that bhav. And tomorrow also at the ISKCON temple, I will also speak, because there's so much to learn from the pastime of Lord Nrsimha. This particular section that we're going to study tonight is from the 5th canto. The 5th canto is called Creative Impetus, Uti. In other words, people perform activities because there's some cause. This is also explained in the Bhagavad Gita. There are 5 causes for someone to perform an activity. And the only reason people do things is because there's some impetus, some reason behind it. For a gross materialist, money. That's what motivates him. I'm going to do this activity because I'll make money, and with that money, I can enjoy. Someone who is a jnani, he is better than the karmi because he's not motivated by making money. What motivates him is, I will acquire some knowledge. I will learn something. We even have an expression, knowledge is power, or a little bit of knowledge is a dangerous thing, depending on who has acquired it. For instance, I'll give you an example. The story of how Maharaj Parikshit was cursed. It was a 5-year-old boy. He had a little bit of transcendental knowledge. Look what he did with it. He used it to curse the great devotee king Parikshit. And his father chastised him. Yes, he put the garland around me, but that's no reason to curse him. He's a great devotee. And he's the king. Now look what you have done. His father chastised him. So a little bit of knowledge is a dangerous thing. So the karmi, money. The jnani gets motivated by knowledge. What motivates the yogi? Power. I will do this yoga and I will get powers. And we see sometimes even the yogis become, how shall we say, a disturbance with their powers. Durvasa used his mystic power to try to harm a devotee. So powers, mystic powers can also be dangerous. And what is the creative impetus? What is the reason for a devotee? A devotee, what is driving him? Love. The whole very definition of a devotee. The devotee wants to serve God. That's a devotee. And the devotee wants to serve God. because there is some love there. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says twice, Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyajimam namaskaru, twice. In the end of the 9th chapter and towards the end of chapter 18, the verse is repeated. The last 2 lines are different, but it's the same meaning. So Prabhupada explains there that how you can, Krishna says, think of me. You can't think of someone unless there's some attachment. Attachment means love. So the very principle of bhakti, even in the beginning stage, there's some kind of affection for Krishna. Same thing in chapter 7 when Krishna says, 4 kinds of persons approach me for devotional service. The one out of distress, the one seeking wealth, the one who is inquisitive, and the one who is actually wants to acquire the absolute truth. And doesn't Krishna say all of them are magnanimous? Because at least they're approaching Krishna. There's some attachment. It's not pure love. Pure love comes later, but there's some affection. Otherwise, no one would bother. So, just like the word bhaja, generally it is translated as worship. But the actual definition, as Prabhupada gives in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, bhaj means not just worship, but bhaj means service, to render service. That's the real definition of that root word, bhaj, to render service. And that is the relationship between every jiva and God. The very reason why the jiva exists is to render service. That question is asked. Why do I exist? You exist to render loving service to God. You all have children. Why did you have children? It's a big expense. It's a big worry throughout your whole life. But you had those children to increase your happiness. That's why you had your children. 2, you got married. Now you came together. Now you want to expand, increase. So you had children. Sometimes it's a headache. But the intention was, let us come together and increase our happiness. And as parents, you want to share everything you have with your children. Am I right? Indian people are not stingy. They like to share with their at least with their family members. That is their nature. That is good. So the devotee, the bhakta, the basic principle, driving force is service, love of God. Let's read a little bit, and then I'm going to ask Batuk to sing. Shukadeva Goswami continued, my dear king, Lord Nrsingadev resides in the tract of land known as Hari-varṣa. In the 7th canto of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, I shall describe to you how Prahlāda Maharaj caused the Lord to assume the form of Nrsinga, because that form of Nrsinga, that's not his real form. His original form is Narayan. In the spiritual world, he has the Narayan form. But that form he showed as Nrsinga That was because several reasons. Hiranyakashipu, Lord Brahma, and Prahlāda. Because Hiranyakashipu, when he was getting his benedictions, first he wanted to be immortal. But Lord Brahma said, I can't give you that. Even I'm not immortal. I may be the topmost demigod, but even I have to die. So that's something only Krishna, only God can grant immortality, nobody else. So Brahma said, I can't give you that. So then Hiranyakashipu said, okay, I don't want to die like this, like this, like this. He gave all these reasons, all these situations. He thought, now I'm invincible. So he had to assume that form. One of them was, it can't be a man or an animal. So he came half man, half animal. The Lord is more clever than the demon. And he said, I don't want to die in the day or night. So he was killed at sunset. It's neither day nor night. I don't want to die in the day, inside or out. So he was killed in the doorway. It's not in, it's not out. Hare Krishna. And all the different benedictions that Brahma gave, Lord Nrsimha kept intact. That's why at the end, before Lord Nrsimha went back to his abode, he chastised Brahma. Don't do this. Don't give these kinds of benedictions because you're simply indulging. But Brahma didn't learn his lesson because he gave so many benedictions to Ravana. Again, but Ravana made one mistake because of his ego. Ravana didn't consider invincible to humans or animals because he said, they're insignificant. So Vishnu came as the form of Ram, as a human, and the demigods came as the monkeys, and that's how Ravana was destroyed. Ram, who appeared to be a human being, and a monkey army who were actually demigods, headed up by Sugriva, Hanuman, right? So, now, it says here, Prahlāda caused the Lord, because at that crucial moment, when Hiranyakashipu challenged Prahlāda, saying, why do you defy me? I've tried to kill you in so many ways, but you can't be killed. Where do you get your power from to defy me? Because Hiranyakashipu thought, I am supreme. Everybody was bowing down to Hiranyakashipu. Everybody, even Narada said, I had to bow down to Hiranyakashipu. Only Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva did not have to bow down to Hiranyaka. Everybody else. So Hiranyakashipu was the supreme. But Prahlāda was fearless. So Hiranyakashipu challenged him. How is it you're so audacious that you defy me? Where do you get this power from? And the little boy said, my power is the same source as your power, God. And that was too much for Hiranyakashipu. Show me your God. Where is your God? What did Prahlāda say? He's everywhere. Vasudeva. That is one of the definitions of Vasudeva. He's all pervasive. He's everywhere. So Hiranyakashipu thought, oh, this 5-year-old boy, he's not very intelligent. God is everywhere. So he said, okay, if he's everywhere, then I'll kill him right before you. And he said, is he in the pillar? And Prahlāda said, yes, he's in the pillar. So the Lord appeared to keep the word of Prahlāda intact. The boy devotee said, God's in the pillar. So Nrsimhadev appeared from the pillar just to keep the word of Prahlāda truthful. And then Lord Nrsimha killed Hiranyakashipu and kept all the benedictions intact. Everybody chant the Maha Mantra. Prahlāda Maharaj, the topmost devotee of the Lord, is a reservoir of all good qualities of great personalities. His character and activities have delivered all the fallen members of his demoniac family. So what happened was, after Hiranyakashipu was slain by Lord Nrsimha, all the demigods came one after another to offer prayers to the Lord. And the Lord was very angry. He was still roaring. So Lord Brahma offered a prayer, Lord Shiva, Lord Indra, one after another, all the devatas, they came and offered prayers, but the Lord was still angry. He was still roaring. And then Lord Brahma asked Lord Nrsimha's wife, Lakshmi, you please calm him down. But Lakshmi said, I've never seen him like this. So she was afraid. So then Lord Brahma told Prahlāda, you go. So Prahlāda had a garland, and he put the garland on the Lord. And then Prahlāda went straight, flat, dandavat on the ground. Then the Lord stopped roaring. He became Shanta Nrsimha. Before this, he was Ugra Nrsimha. But now, when Prahlāda came, he became Shanti, Shanti. And the Lord put his hand on Prahlāda's head. Then Prahlāda stood up and offered his prayers. Over 40 Sanskrit prayers he offered. Very, very highly elevated, very exquisite prayers. I studied them earlier this week. I went through all the prayers Prahlāda offered. So after Prahlāda offered his prayers, the Lord said, because you were my devotee, your father tortured you in so many ways. Your father tried to kill you so many ways. But what did Prahlāda do? He simply remembered the Lord, and he didn't worry. He simply always took shelter of the Lord, and nothing happened. He was thrown off a cliff untouched. He was put under the feet of elephants. He was put in a pit of snakes. He was put in a big pot of oil, like you would make pakora. Nothing happened. He was a 5-year-old boy. Nothing happened. Finally, his mother was forced to give him poison in the food. What did Prahlāda do? He offered it to the Lord and ate prasad, and the poison didn't act. Reminds me of Bhim. Bhim was also fed poison, but it didn't act, right? From the Mahabharata. So Nrsimhadev said, you had to undergo so much torture because Hiranyakashipu was the original terrorist. He is the Founder-Ācārya of terrorism. So he said, the Lord said, Prahlāda, you must take a benediction. Prahlāda said, what, you think I'm a merchant of Vanik? You think that I do business with you? No. You are my master. I am your servant. That's it. But the Lord insisted, no, you must take a benediction. So what did Prahlāda say? Okay, if I must take a benediction, then in my heart, no more material desires. I want my heart to be pure, to be clean. Then the Lord said, no, you must take more. So Prahlāda said, then please, although my father is big demon, don't send him to hell. So the Lord said, yes, not only your father, but 21 generations of your family, back and forward, are all delivered. So if there's one pure devotee in the family, just see. So everyone should try to have, thank you, Hare Krishna, a devotee in the family to deliver 21 generations. Right? Do you do that Shraddha ceremony for your forefathers? Do you do that? That's the same thing. You want to deliver. So that's why Shukadeva is saying, Prahlāda has delivered so many personalities in his family. And another thing, after the Lord killed Prahlāda's father, the Lord said, never again in your dynasty will I kill anyone. So this was held true, because later the grandson of the grandson was Bali. Did Vamanadev kill Bali? He cheated him, but he didn't kill him. And then Bali's grandson was Banasura. And Banasura was fighting Krishna. So now we brought Krishna into the scene. So Banasura was protected by Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva was doing everything he could. So there was a scene where Lord Shiva is fighting Krishna. Wow. So what did Krishna do? Krishna doesn't want to fight Shiva. Why? Shiva is his bhakta. So what does Krishna do? He puts Shiva to sleep. He has a weapon called the yawning weapon. So they're fighting, but then Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva falls asleep. Now Krishna doesn't have to fight Lord Shiva. So finally, Krishna now confronts Banasura. And Banasura has 1,000 arms. He got that benediction from Lord Shiva. And what did he used to do with those arms? Ding, 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 ding. What does Lord Shiva like to do? Dance. So Banasura used to play drums for Lord Shiva while he danced. So Lord Shiva made Banasura one of his pet devotees, gave him special protection. But not this time. Because even when Lord Shiva woke up from Krishna's yawning weapon, Lord Shiva sent a weapon called Shiva-dwar, was burning everything up. So what did Krishna do? He sent the Narayana-dwar, which was extreme cold. So when the Shiva-dwar, which is hot, like it is this week, it was so hot, right? Did you have any fires here? Some places they had fires, right? It's very dangerous right now. This week was too hot, right? It started Tuesday with Nisringa, then next day hotter. Today I think it was a little better. Nisringa Dev has calmed down. So the Narayan-dwar neutralized the Shiva-dwar, and the Shiva-dwar surrendered to Krishna. So now Krishna is fighting Banasura. Now Shiva cannot protect him. So with those 1,000 arms, what does Krishna do? He has Sudarshan Chakra. And the chakra starts cutting off one by one all of Banasura's arms. and leaves him with 4. 996 arms cut. So this is one of the few demons that Krishna did not kill. And the reason why is because this Banasura was in this family of Hiranyakashipu, and the Lord promised Prahlāda, I will never kill anyone in your dynasty ever again. But he had to humble Banasura. So he cut off 996 arms, just like if you had $1,000 and the government left you with 4, you'd feel pretty dejected. So Banasura was left with only 4 arms. He came down to his senses. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. To be continued. So there are several mantras or prayers that Prahlāda offers regularly to Lord Nrsimha, where Prahlāda is residing in this Hari-varṣa. So here's one of them. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Lord Nrsimha, the source of all power. O my Lord, who possesses nails and teeth just like thunderbolts. So this is one of the characteristics of God. God has inconceivable powers. One of the benedictions that the Lord had to keep intact was that Hiranyakashipu said, I don't want to die by any weapon. So the Lord usually has his Sudarshan Chakra, or he has his club, but because of Brahma's benedictions, he can't use that. So how does he kill him? With his nails. But the Lord's nails are exquisitely, as it says here, nails and teeth like thunderbolts. Like Indra has that thunderbolt weapon. It's considered an invincible weapon. So the Lord, his nails are like thunderbolts. Prahlāda then says, kindly vanquish our demon-like desires for our fruitive activity in this material world. So people sometimes ask, what is the value of such books as Bhagavad Gita in modern life? Same with Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. What is the value? How do these things apply? So Prahlāda, he's teaching us that if we have desires, material desires, Prahlāda says these are demon-like. These things, desiring more and more material things, they are not going to give us peace. They're not going to give us happiness. We have seen throughout history, even here in America, even outside of Hindu culture, people have so much wealth, so much opulence, hundreds of houses and cars, but there's one thing they don't have: peace. You know the story. Some of you don't know me. Maybe this is the first time. But one time I was asked by a Hindu lady, Swamiji, can you give me peace? So I said, yes. First, I have to ask, do you eat meat? She said, yes. I can't give you peace. Then I asked her, do you drink alcohol? She goes, yes. How can I give you peace? And then I asked her, do you gamble? She goes, yes. I said, then how I can give you peace? 3 strikes, you're out. You have to give up these things. If you can't have, like, look, you all know better than me, Ravan. Ravan was enjoying unrestricted sense gratification. But was Ravan happy? And the one thing he wanted, he couldn't get, right? What was the one thing Ravan wanted that he couldn't have? Sita. And so many people told him, look at, just because you want this woman, you're willing to risk everything. And he did, right? All of his sons, he sent them one after another to fight Ram and Lakshman. What happened? Killed. And his ministers told him, give up this attachment to Sita. And Ravan had so many women. He had so many. No. Because of those desires, sinful, demoniac desires, that's what did him in. And Prahlāda's father was the same way. Same exact way. His very name, Hiranyakashipu. What did he like? Gold and soft cushion, soft bed. His very name indicates what he wants. He wants women, more women, more women, more gold, more sense gratification. No. So Prahlāda correctly is telling us, please kindly vanquish our demon-like desires for fruitive activity. Please appear in our hearts and drive away our ignorance. In the Bhagavad Gita, we hear Krishna say that for those who are my devotees, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. That's what Krishna does for the devotee. Krishna is in your heart. And if you ask him, Lord, please, as Prahlāda is saying here, please drive away our ignorance, the Lord will do that. You just have to ask him. That is why we chant. That's another thing. People ask, why do we chant? Why do we pray? Yes, it's for this reason. We want the Lord to drive away our ignorance. Ignorance is the cause of inauspicious life. You're driving your car. You get pulled over by the police. You can't say to the police, "What, officer, I didn't know it was wrong to drive 100 miles an hour." The policeman is going to accept your excuse that you didn't know. You were supposed to know. So ignorance is no excuse. So Prahlāda is praying, please drive away our ignorance so that by your mercy we may become fearless. My favorite bhajan, Bhaja Hure Mana Śrīnanda-nandana Abhaya Charanara Vindure. You become fearless when you are situated at the lotus feet of the Lord, when you have taken shelter. The Lord's in your heart. Just have to take shelter. We become fearless in the struggle for existence in the material world. This is mentioned by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. In the 15th chapter, Manakshastan Indriyani Prakratistani Karshati. Krishna agrees. Krishna says, yes, I know you are struggling in this world, but what is your struggle? Krishna points out, your struggle is your 5 senses and your mind. That's your struggle. Not your boss, not your employees, not Obama. No, your real struggle, Krishna says, are your eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin, and the biggest problem, the mind. That's why the Bhagavad Gita, it says, control the mind and make the mind your friend. You don't control your mind, then you are living with your own worst enemy. So, how to control the mind? Very simple. Chant. Chant the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Looks like you're ready to sing. So here's the next prayer that Prahlāda offers in his Hari-varṣa to Lord Nrsimhadev. This one is very nice. So here, Prahlāda is going to offer you all a benediction. All of you. May there be good fortune throughout the universe. I'll repeat that. May there be good fortune throughout the universe. And may all envious persons be pacified. May all living entities become calm by practicing bhakti yoga. For by accepting devotional service, they will think of each other's welfare. Therefore, let us all engage in the service of the Supreme Transcendence, Lord Sri Krishna, and always remain absorbed in thought of Him. So this is the nature of a real devotee. A real devotee wants everyone to be happy. A real devotee is not so much concerned with him or herself. The real devotee is concerned how I can make others happy. Why does the devotee do that? Because the devotee knows that if I can give Krishna to others, automatically I'll be happy. My spiritual master used to always say that let's say you have 10% Krishna consciousness and you give it out and you give it to others. At the end of the day, you now have 20. If I give you $100, my $100 is gone from my account. But spiritual bank account is different. This is why I do what I do. And this is why my wife allows me to do what I do. Because she knows, his bank account, I get half. Yes, the wife gets half of the husband's spiritual bank account. So, we have my good, very best friend, Kamlesh. How many Bhagavad Gita's CDs, DVDs you have distributed? 12,000. You get credit for 6. Pretty good. I don't know if it works the other way, that you get her half. Wow. That's true. But you don't do sinful act. No, you don't. So this is the devotee. The devotee wants good fortune for everyone. Now the next line. May all envious persons be pacified. Because this is why we have trouble in the world. Envy. It's the original sin. So Prahlāda is saying if all the envious people are pacified, then we'll have, what is this? Are we living, is this Placentia? So if everybody in Placentia gets pacified, Placentia becomes Vaikuntha. Because Vaikuntha is that place nobody's envious. But you all know, Placentia, Irvine, wherever, you know so many envious people, I'm sure. Maybe you work with them. You've had experience. I know, I used to work a regular job, and I had to deal with envious people, and it's rough. May all living entities become calm by practicing bhakti yoga. That is one of the results. If you do bhakti, you become calm and peaceful. As he says here, for by accepting devotional service, they will think of each other's welfare. So in my group, those who know me, that's what we have tried to do, is create this atmosphere where we think of each other's welfare. Therefore, let us all engage in the service of the supreme transcendence. Why? Because there's three transcendence: Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan. So Bhagavan is the supreme transcendence. Brahman and Paramatma realization is partial. But when you realize the supreme transcendence, when you realize Bhagavan, when you render devotional service, now you have full supreme transcendence. And notice, Prahlāda is signifying who that supreme transcendence is. Lord Sri Krishna. And he's here tonight in the form of Natwa, right? That's how you call? Srinathji. 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 We have Prabhupada, Gaurnitai, and Srinathji. Nimai Charan, you will be tonight's pujari? Yes? So, I asked you. So do the offering at 7:30. Okay? Can all the boga be ready by 7:30? Yes? You can get the tray. You do the offering at 7:30. So, Prahlāda Maharaj is saying that Krishna is the supreme transcendence. Kamlesh and Rama, you know Bhagavad Gita better than me. What does Krishna say? There's no truth what? To him. Right? And Krishna says, everything comes from me, not China. Right? So it's very clear in the Bhagavad Gita and in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, the line, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Because where that verse comes, there's a list of about 20 avatars. But whose avatars is not mentioned. So after listing the 20 avatars, Sutta Goswami explains, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. All these avatars are coming from the origin, Bhagavan Sri Krishna. And always remain absorbed in thought of him. Isn't that exactly what Krishna says? Man mana, always think of me. Kundan, Krishna Kumar's favorite verse. What does Krishna tell Arjuna in chapter 8, verse 7? Do your prescribed duty and what? And remember me. Exactly. That is another example. People want to know, how can Bhagavad Gita be practical? Here is the most practical verse of the Bhagavad Gita. Do your prescribed duty and remember Krishna at the same time. And people give the excuse, but I have to do this, I have to do this. What was Arjuna's excuse? He has to fight a war. If anybody had an excuse, it would be Arjuna. But Krishna said, I'm not letting you off the hook. I want you to fight and think of me. So, what's the problem of driving the car and thinking of Krishna? Or doing housework and thinking of Krishna? It can be done. Just requires a little determination, a little practice. And always remain absorbed in thought of him. Let's all chant the Maha Mantra.